But up first this evening, the Houston Police Department has released its final report on the lack of personnel code that suspended investigations into nearly 265,000 cases.
Yeah, the 43-page report gives us our very first look in depth at how and why this code was used. Acting Chief Larry Satterwhite laid out HPD's 8 key findings. The code was first used in early 2016 and used by all divisions, but there was never any detailed training or instructions on how and when it should be used. The chief stressing the code is no longer in use. However, HPD is so understaffed it cannot investigate all crimes. The department saying it must prioritize violent crime at the expense of property crime.
We are using up every dollar y'all are giving us, either for people or for equipment or for other compliance and things that we have to do. It's going to cost an extra 170 to probably 200 million.
The report shows how many of the nearly 265,000 suspended cases have been reviewed. 79% were in the Special Victims Division, 56% Major Assaults and Family Violence Division, and 100% all the cases in the Homicide Division. Again, Acting Chief Larry Satterwhite calling this scandal a failure of leadership.
HPD's top brass failing to recognize the suspended case problem and for years failing to stop it. Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski examines the many missed opportunities at the highest ranks of HPD.
Mia and Len, Chief Satterwhite says the suspended lack of personnel code was created with good intent to highlight the need for more staffing. But without guidelines or guardrails for when not to use the code, it spun out of control. And along the way, many red flags were ignored.
A failure to recognize what was going on and a failure to go in and truly try to correct it.
HPD's acting chief told city council members how the department's top brass repeatedly dropped the ball. How over 8 years there were 7 opportunities when the magnitude of the issue could have been identified. Those include a 2017 policy to no longer use the code for child sex assault cases. But
unfortunately, it was still active in the adult sex crime section and was not corrected.
A year later, there was a memo about a shelved hit-and-run accident that went nowhere.
Nothing else was done, and the code was allowed to continue to be used.
In 2020, there was a state audit of sexual assault investigations.
It was another opportunity to see what was going on, to look deeper, but we never did.
And in 2021, an HPD sergeant sounded the alarm on the controversial code, providing hard numbers by division of incidents suspended for lack of personnel.
The biggest fail, again, is that there was no follow-up.
Repeated lack of follow-up ultimately meant more than 250,000 incidents shelved.
Obviously, I'm sitting here thinking, what in the world?
Mayor Whitmire and council members also received a progress report on HPD's review of suspended cases and its policy changes going forward. As for anyone getting disciplined in the scandal,
where it is appropriate, discipline cites will be issued.
But Acting Chief Satterwhite cautioned that do not expect to see a large number of people getting disciplined. He says this wasn't a 1 or 2 person failure. Rather, it was a systemic department-wide failure. Mia?
That is quite the observation by him. Jeremy, tonight, thank you.